Yeah, and we back at it. How y'all doing? How's everybody doing? I am G, the seeker of truth. This is spiritual stake, and yes, your spirit is at stake. We never want to take that lightly. How you feeling? How everything going? We in our Bible breakdown here at Spiritual State. We are in the third book of Moses called Leviticus. I made a mistake the other day. I said Leviticus was the second law, repetition of the law. And that is not true. Leviticus is the laws pertaining to the Levites and regarding to the Levites or concerning the Levites. This is the third book of Moses, also the third book of the Torah. We come out of Exodus 40, and what do we get from Exodus 40? They still in the wilderness. Excuse me. They still in the wilderness. Aaron and his sons have been sanctified per se. And we got to know that Exodus was never, like I say, when we first went through this, I was under the impression that the children of Israel possessed the land in the book of Exodus. I thought they came out and possessed in our one book. And it wasn't until I studied for myself that we finna go over into the book of Leviticus, and they still in the wilderness. So y'all already know how I do it. I ain't gonna hold you up. If you're gonna fire up, go ahead on and fire up. And with no further ado, let us get into the third book of Moses called Leviticus. And the Lord called unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, If any man of you bring an offering unto the Lord, ye shall bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herd, and of the flock. If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. And he shall put his hand upon the head of the burnt offering, and it shall be accepted for him to make atonement for him. And he shall kill the bullock before the Lord. And the priest Aaron's son shall bring the blood and sprinkle the blood round about upon the altar that is by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he shall flay the burnt offering and cut it into his pieces. And the sons of Aaron the priest shall put fire upon the altar and lay the wood in order upon the fire. I'm going to tell you something real quick. I can see why they had to make another way for people to feel like they were atoned for their sins. Because if this was the law of the land today, that in order for you to be atoned to your sins, that you got to offer a male at your herd without blemish, you got to bring it of your own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. And you got to put it up here. And you got to kill this bullock. You got to. And they going to bring the blood after you done killed this bullock. Aaron and his sons going to go get the blood and sprinkle it round about the altar. I'm going to tell you one thing. As extreme as that sound, that might be one heck of a way to deter sin. Because the person to go crazy. If you had to do that for every sin you committed, if you had to do that to be atoned for your sins, then you had to do one for your peace offering, one for your just the many different offerings that they had, the many different like I said, the rituals, right? And so they say we got to figure out another way to get people to come and to believe. But we can't be out here sacrificing goats and bullocks because the mass majority of people are not going to want to do that. Not today. Like I say, in 2026, if you go up in your church and your pastor in there got a goat and he sliced his goat up and they catch the goat blood in the cup and take the goat blood and they pour it on the four corners of the pillar, and then the preacher pour the blood over himself and start praying, you going to jump up and run out that church. Or you're going to break your phone out and try to get and shoot for your viral moment. And you're going to caption it, is this what church is today? But nah, this is not what church is today, because we are given so many things to, we can do things consciously, intentionally. I made a new word up just then. Intentionally, and then we can throw it off on something else. Forgive me for that. But if you had to take a bull out there, that would deter you from your sins personally, or to have you down at the psych ward. I'm just saying. Hey, and the priest, Aaron's sons, shall lay the parts, the head and the fat, in order upon the wood that is on the fire, which is upon the altar. But his inwards and his legs shall he wash in water, and the priest shall burn all of the altar to be a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord. And if his offering be of the flock, namely of the sheep or of the goat, for a burnt sacrifice, he shall bring it a male without blemish, and he shall kill it on the side of the altar northward before the Lord. And the priest, Aaron's son, shall sprinkle his blood round about upon the altar, and he shall cut it into his pieces, with his head and his fat, and the priest shall lay them in order on the wood that is on the fire, which is upon the altar. But he shall wash the inwards and the legs with water, and the priest shall bring it out and burn it upon the altar. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord. And if the burnt sacrifice for his offering to the Lord be of fowls, then he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or of a young pigeon, and the priest shall bring it unto the altar, and wring off his head, and bring it on the altar. Now let's just, y'all say I went too far with the goat because y'all read it y'allself and y'all didn't want to believe they were talking about a real goat. That wasn't a real goat that they was talking about. That was theoretical. That was a metaphorical goat. Excuse me. That was a metaphorical goat. Right? Because you know how we do. We try to take the Bible and it's literal here, but it's not literal here. But it's like, let's just put the dirt. Okay, we ain't gonna say that it's about the goat. Forget the goat. Let's talk about the turtle dove or the pigeon. Because you ain't got no goat. And you go in there and you tell your pastor, you say, I've sinned. I need to make an atonement. He say, bring me a bullock. You say, I ain't got none. He said, well, bring me a goat. You say, I ain't got no goat. Go down there to Walmart and snatch one of them birds up at the lot. And snatch one of them birds up at the lot. And you bring me that bird. And that's going to be your burnt sacrifice. And you go down there and you snatch this bird up and you take it back to your pastor. And you give it to him. And he take the bird and snap his neck. And snap his head. But I'm going too far. I said too much. Or I didn't say it the way they said. So let me stop. Okay, I'm going to say it like 15 said. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back to 14. And if the burnt sacrifice for his offering to the Lord be of fowls, Then he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or of young pigeons, and the priest shall bring it unto the altar, and wring off his head, and burn it on the altar, and the blood thereof shall be wrung out at the side of the altar. And you say, I went too far because I say he snatched his neck off, snatched his head off. Well, how do you think they got the blood out when they say wrung off his head? That means snatched the head off of the pigeon, and they took the pigeon, snatched his head off, and poured the blood beside the altar. Now we seen a magician bite the head off a bat, and we say that's satanic. He of Satan. He's a devil. Rest in peace to that man, wherever he is. But he bit the head off a bat, and the pastor snatched the head off a pigeon and poured the blood beside the altar. But that's satanic, and this is holy. "16. And he shall pluck away his crop with his feathers, and cast it beside the altar on the east part by the place of the ashes. And he shall cleave it with the wings thereof, but shall not divide it asunder. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar, upon the wood that is upon the fire. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord." And that is the end of the first chapter of the third book of the Bible, known as Leviticus. Are you offended yet? Or do you see it? I said it back in Exodus that all this killing the animals and pouring out of blood and covering yourself in blood and pouring blood beside the pillars and all this, it sounded real ritualistic to me. I say if you seen it in your church today, you wouldn't go back to that church. Now, I know it's going to be those that argue and say, I go back. But you wouldn't. Because it's not what you're accustomed to. Excuse me. Right? We are not accustomed to seeing these things. We are not accustomed to hearing these things. And then if your pastor sit up in there and tell you today that you know back in the day when they were making atonement for their sins, they had to bring in a bull. And they had to sacrifice a bull for their atonement. You would say, oh, the pastor, he owned one today. But he owned one because he shared truth. See, here in Spiritual State, that's what we do. We're not saying that we right, but we saying that what we reading, it comes straight out the Bible. You don't have to agree with it, but it's kind of hard to argue when it's right there in your face in black and white. And for those of us that still argue with it, that still deny it, and still push it to the side, still say, well, no, I ain't dealing with that because he does this, or I heard this, or this, that, or the third. Let that be the reason. I am G, the seeker of truth. This here is Spiritual State. And until next time, y'all stay elevated.